You are now listening to the Project Kuwait. Where we stop at nothing to bring you the right facts on health, fitness, and psychology. Featuring some of the world's most experienced professionals so you can learn, live, and live. With your hosts, Meg, Dr.D, and Mehdi.
In this episode, you do not want to miss the opportunity. We talked to Dr. Ammer Bahbahani, Sundus, and there's two other women who are in charge of all these organizations. They're non-for-profit organizations that have been lobbying for such a long time for women and against violence. Women in Kuwait that have been experiencing violence toward by family members or husbands or even other members of their family. What is their right? Where can they do? Who can they call? All of this is in this episode.
Best part about it is I love jumping into the fact that women in Kuwait can't give their nationalities to their children, their God-given right. And we jump into that and we talk about the different laws that are in place and the petitions that are going around right now throughout the society. So if you are an international listener and you want to learn more about the traditions and everything in the MENA region, this is a great episode to get an understanding. And I'm sure you will enjoy the legal terminology that is thrown about in this episode. So don't forget to leave us a rating and review.
All this and more in today's episode.
Welcome to this episode. It's great that we're having this meeting with Sundus, Dr. Bahbahani. We're going to talk about violence on women. We're going to talk about Soroptimist. We're going to talk about anything that, because I really, to be honest, I feel like these rules that we have for women protection, but not only women, but also men violence. I think these topics are not talked about enough in Kuwait. And I think it's important that we talk about what programs, what are they, if anyone is going to be listening and has struggles with violence or anything sort of abuse, then they'll know where to be referred to or what should they do. So thank you both ladies for being here. I know Sindus, you've been here before and it's important that we talk about. First of all, I want to talk about the collaboration. And yes, and that's why we have you on again, because we really enjoyed your honesty. We enjoyed your candidness and the way you really talked about violence in general. First of all, it's Dr. Ammer, right? How do you say
Ammer.
that?
It's Ammer.
Ammer, like Ammer.
With an L. Ammer. Yeah. Ammer.
Amar.
It's a Greek name. The meaning of the name is the goddess of love and beauty.
And it is.
So this is where the nouns l'amour or amour comes from.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, yeah. I didn't know that. Okay.
Well, my parents were in love apparently, which is amazing. Right?
Good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Good for them. Yes, that's true. So if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, your background.
Sure. My name is Ammer Bahbahani. I do have a PhD in two specialties, actually. I have a PhD in design, education, and innovation. And I also have another career as a full-time psychotherapist that has been trained in Florida, in New York, and California. And I did a PhD in art psychotherapy in specific, and I focused on women issues. Women and elderly issues, to be specific. And what I did is that I combined these things all together and tried my best to practice what I believe in through therapy, which is helping other people express themselves in a different manner. And throughout my career, because I dealt with so many women, I dealt with so many abused and children who are subjected to violence. And, Juliet, you have the same path. And you're seeing this every day in the profession. And I also dealt with that on university level when I see my students going through the same thing, because 99% of our student body were females in the past years. So I do also live with them certain bullying and abuse situations. Then my passion and compassion towards these things just told me, you know what? I need to do something about this. Having a job or a career that are helping women is not enough. So I didn't shift, but I added to my baggage another third route, which is basically to be part of a society that can help women on local and global level. This is where Soroptimist came from. Soroptimist is a very hard name to announce, but it's جمعية Soroptimist للخدمة المجتمعية. It is Soroptimist International Kuwait. It's part of international and global movement to enable, empower, and educate women. It has been established in the United States in 1921. So we're celebrating 100 years next year.
Wow. Okay.
And the Kuwaiti chapter is also an official society and CSO, and we don't call it NGO because we don't have NGOs in Kuwait. Mm-hmm. We're all under the Ministry of Social Affairs and Labor, and we're registered as a CSO or a nonprofit organization, I could say. And it's been a journey since 2015 until now. The purpose of Soroptimist is to enable, educate, empower women through awareness, action, and advocacy. And this is where the path took us also to collaborate with Ithar and Abolish, because Abolish established in 2015 and we were establishing ourselves in 2015. So the girls that were working on Abolish and we were working on Soroptimist, we were walking in the same path. They were trying to advocate for the change of the Madde 153, which is Law 153 for honor killing, but also tackling the violence and everything. And we were establishing ourselves under the enablement and the education of women. We were tackling the same cause, but from a perspective of education and awareness and taking action to help these women build themselves. But this year, when the COVID happened, we just said, okay, this is enough. We have to put our hands together because we have to help the women have a better opportunity. And we can't do that if we don't work together, because we have so many members that can work. Ithar and Abolish have so many communications and contacts. Sundus, Sheikha, and Adra, and myself, we are 4 women. And we are the COVID response for 2020 EVA, which is eliminating violence against women. And that's what we're doing now. Sundus?
Wow, amazing. Yep. Sundus?
You want me to
a little
say
bit
something
about yourself?
too?
Yes, of course.
Well, I'm one of the founders of Abolish 153 and Ithar as well, sister organization. And you guys heard that 153 is about honor killing and Ithar is about violence against women. Our goal was advocacy in passing laws that will stop demeaning women. But the path has taken us not only towards advocacy, but we had to work with victims of abuse at this point. We've been doing this for a while, but not in the numbers that we've been seeing since the COVID crisis. And I've known Ammer through a couple of engagements. One of them happens to be also something that came from Abolish, which is Women Partners in Progress, an empowerment 2-year engagement specifically towards empowering women. And during COVID, Ammer suggested that we work together with Soroptimists because they have a wealth of skilled ladies, skilled, educated. Ammer was saying it's a group of 4. One is a legal, 2 are Abolish co-founders, and Ammer being the head of the Soroptimist. And we've been working together the past 4 months to help victims of abuse to become survivors of abuse in various ways, which we can explain along the the Zoom today.
Well, thank you both ladies for being here. I think this is really, really important. And of course, I'm just like, obviously I'm an educator and a psychologist, and I think educating people in general, but definitely educating women and recognizing signs of abuse or what to do to really help yourself and become more empowering women is the key to education and also to treatment. So I think this is great that you both are doing great things and that you have decided to join hands, because now you could do a lot more together than if you could do separately. I guess that one of the things I'm really interested in and I really want to hear about is that since COVID-19, you both have mentioned that there have been an increase, or what you saw with women's violence against women has increased with COVID-19. Can you explain a little bit more what you saw and why do you think that happened with COVID?
Okay. If I would want to be politically correct about this, I would say that it didn't increase, but it shed the light and it cleared up the skies where we were not seeing the amount of people. Of course, we know that there are cases because these cases are communicating with both our societies, but the increase of the amount came to our attention because there is an increase of the amount of younger women that are saying, hello, we need help. So there's an increase in amount in the younger society. We had so many people ages 17, 18 until 21. And to be honest, we were so sorry that we can't help them because they're not of legal age. And one of the rules that we have put for ourselves so we can actually legally protect ourselves, that we only enable women who are above 21 who can't take care of themselves. We cannot handle the responsibility of women that are under this age. And it breaks our heart every day, Juliet. Every day. Because we get all these messages, whether through, and I don't ignore, I actually talk to them and I tell them, if you need therapy, if you need help, if you need an educationist, if you need a job, tell me, I can help you. And we have a whole society that can help. But really, we cannot provide you with protection. We cannot provide you with an opportunity to leave home and be away of your violator because you are underage.
Why is that? Is there a law that abides where, like, I mean, in the United States, you know, there's domestic abuse and that applies to children and DSS can get involved and so forth. I mean, here that doesn't exist?
No, it exists and it applies to children. But there's a gap between 18 and 21 because according to Abolish, which is basically the law of children and domestic violence, it's until 18 only, right? And then the other domestic violence law, or basically violence against women law, starts from 21. So we're not 18 to 21.
So it's not just the violence, it's that a woman has her legal entitlement at the age of 21. So they forgot the 18 to 21.
Yes. And because of that, I had negotiations actually with the Ministry of Education earlier this year. It was even before the COVID in January. And then I went to them and I told them, you have an education psychology program that is until only 18. What about our girls in the university? What about our men in the universities that are subjected to violence and abuse? What do they do from 18 to 21? And you as a ministry have a responsibility. And this is another advocacy process that we are working on in Soroptimist because 18 to 21 is a dilemma. So we had this first dilemma in COVID. And then the second dilemma was, and to be actually frank, I think it's a blessing that women were speaking up. I'm not going to die from COVID. I'm going to die from violence. So I might as well, pick up the phone and call Ithar, call Abolish, call Soroptimist, call the police. Because I'm going to die anyways if I just stay silent. And it happened because of the lockdown. The women who used to go to their families' houses or go, for example, to her friend's house, or even if we're going to talk about the younger men who leave home because of these situations and just go other places away from violators, they happen to be in the same house. So it shed the light. That violence was way old violence that was there way before the COVID, but the COVID was shedding every single shield that was upon this phenomenon.
It's all over the world. Violence is usually increased when you ask families to be together. I mean, it used to be that cases of violence increases during Christmas as well, not in Kuwait, but worldwide. Because families are stuck together. And we saw that these are the same, and the world is seeing the same thing happening during COVID because you have lockdown. So there's no way out of between the perpetrator and the person and the victim. There is no way out. So it increases. That's why the World Health Organizations are trying to combat this violence against women, specifically now more than ever because of the lockdown cases.
It was there on their website as well. If you go and see it, it's in the violence news in the World Health Organization. You would see the percentages right there in front of you. And it was their number one advice, like the number one advice that you have for people who are reading the World Health Organization website. Domestic violence is increasing. Violence against women is increasing. Violence against children is increasing because of the situation. And if I want to be specific, in Kuwait, it increased with younger women more than elderly women who could take care of themselves. It increased with so many girls that are ages from 18 to 26, 27. And that's the kind of segment that we are helping during COVID.
Right. I mean, it makes sense that, and of course, you see it all over the world. The idea is that when people are together, a woman already have violence and she's married to someone that is abusive, let's say. But then if he goes to work, or at least when he comes home, he has lunch, he sleeps and he leaves, at least there's time or period where she is free from that abuse or that bullying in a way. And then with COVID-19 and the quarantine, especially when we had full curfews, then this person doesn't have any place to go. So she's more vulnerable to, he's already upset, angry, he's triggered at anything, and then he can take out of, his anger out on her. But When are we talking about like abuse? Are you seeing more cases like with women being abused by husbands, for example, because if they're over 21, they would be married? Or are you seeing them more with parents, brothers? Because I hear different stories from my students.
Yeah. There are different stories. Sundus can tell you actually an example about a father, because we are going through a situation where we cannot take in one of these girls because of her mental status that was caused genetically by the father. But the father is abusing the woman, physical abuse. He beats her up. Mm-hmm. And Sundus has been the guide for this family for now 2 months. Sundus, go ahead.
What Amar has done, because of her psychotherapy background, is find us a way to find out who are the real cases and who aren't the real cases. So we have a questionnaire. One is legal and one is psychological, to find out whether people are making it up, people are just not happy being with their fathers or mothers or whatever, or it's real serious dangers and stuff like that. So it helped a lot of us to pinpoint where the problems are. And one of these cases is a father whose daughter is bipolar, but and he's lost his job. And of course, unfortunately, he drinks a lot. And he has, it started with physical abuse that changed into verbal abuse, physical abuse, and then sexual abuse. And we didn't know what to do with it. And we didn't know how to help her. But Amar has helped her by eventually taking her out of the situation she's in and going to the mental health hospital, where she was checked and maintained because she was losing her sanity.
She was diagnosed. She was diagnosed at that time.
Before she went to the mental health hospital, she almost killed herself. She almost threw herself from the window. We needed to make sure that she is. In the meanwhile, we've worked with the mother and the father so that the father is removed. The father cannot be in this family, and the mother doesn't feel like he should be in this family, because the priority is, of course, the mother is now the breadwinner, but also the issues that are coming with abuse is because of the father. So we managed to get him. We helped her out in the mental health hospital. We got her mom to be also talking to a therapist during this time because she was really having a hard time. Then we had lockdown and they couldn't take her out of the mental health hospital.
It was very, very...
Really, really trauma.
It was a heartbreaking journey.
Heartbreak. The mental health hospital nurses had corona, so they locked down the whole hospital. So a 5-day assessment ended up being about 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks. Anyway, we've managed eventually to get her home, and now we removed the father, who willingly did say he can leave the minute that lockdown disappeared, which thankfully, and now we have therapists. We got her therapist to try to gauge her medicines so that she can stay functional. And the girl has 1 more year
to finish college.
To finish college. So it's really sad for someone who wants to do so much, but all of these things are happening and making her life much worse. So when Amar came with rehabilitation is a very important. And before Soroptimist came with us in this work, we didn't have time for the rehabilitation. We did it in whatever we could. But now because
functional manner, you were giving shelter, you were giving enablement, economic enablement, so they can actually be independent.
Yes.
The addition of me coming in, I applied the clinical intake, Juliet, the 101. We did the clinical intake. I helped Adra, our legal professional, to do very extensive, comprehensive form where there's a repetition of questions so we could actually know who is being abused and who is not, because we have so many people that are abused socially, for example, and economically, and we can't help them now during COVID. We may help them later on. But during this phase, we need to help ones who are in danger to themselves and others, and who are endangered by others. Because these women mostly suffer from depression and anxiety, some of them from severe personality disorders because of the violence that they have been subjected to. And we try as much as we could. Yeah.
Speak to her about how you managed to help these girls in the safe house, and what kind
definitely.
How did you walk them through? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I will do that now. So the first thing is the intake. And then the second thing that we discovered from the intake, and that's answering your question, Juliet, that the predator is the mother, the father, the brother, the boyfriend, the husband, the sister. There's no gender. Violence is genderless. And I keep on telling that, a lot of people, when we're talking about violence, they think that we're against men.
Right. That's true, because
it's not
that's
only
the myth,
men.
Right?
Yeah, but it's not about men. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 survivors now, the violators are their mothers. Why?
That's true.
Because the mothers are silent. They see what's happening to their daughters and they can't do anything about it because they're weak. Okay.
Right.
And there's one of them that suffered from mental illness. So she basically harmed her own kids. So, and then, of course, the fathers and the brothers just tag along because there's no protection. Who's the number one protection in the family? To me, my mama.
Right.
You know,
and
my
actually,
father.
It's good that you're saying that because I'm thinking about the cases currently, or I've often heard that the mom was very abusive and then she puts the brother also to continue the abuse. I mean, I just remember one I'm currently working with, the way she describes the way mom used to be hostile and angry at her and how she abused her when she was a child, and to also call in the brother to come and finish up the work in a way. And so the majority of the time you think it's it's the father or the husband. A lot of times in this culture, I have noticed that a lot of my clients at least, they'll talk about their mom being very abusive. Most of the time, mom is suffering from depression, unhappy marriage. She triangulates with brother.
Juliet, and a lot of people don't talk about the passive abuse.
Yes, exactly.
The passive abuse. And the passive abuse is when you stay silent. That's neglect. Right. And I have analyzed the kinds of abuse according to scientific theory and according to application. And I discovered there are 11 kinds of abuse. And I put them there on the Soroptimist Instagram account so people would know. And one of them is neglect. And that's the passive abuse. And these are the ones that we actually suffer from in Kuwait a lot. The neglect. Because once the mother or the father neglect the abuse, the whole family will abuse.
That's true.
So, yeah.
And
so once they come in, after we all agree, as a committee, who comes in, there's the role of Sheikh Nafisi. She is the supervisor, to be honest, of these girls. She's the one who tries as much as she could. She accommodates the shelter. Sundus and Sheikha both work together to get the furniture, to get all of that. And we have beautiful hearts in Kuwait. And we have been depending on these women and men and companies out there to help us through this. And we enable the women who are above 21
especially
to get
during
their own homes. Definitely during COVID.
Yes.
And we enable them to take shelter. At the time before Soroptimist, this is what Abolish and Ithar could do, to put them in a safe house and then, figure out how we're going to do that. When I came in, we established a rehabilitation program where there has to be medical supervision, pharmaceutical supervision, therapy supervision, although most of them are with therapists, but I sort of come as a big sister figure, not really the therapist, because sometimes I have to tell them what to do, and the therapist is not supposed to do that. So it's a big sister figure. And then we did a whole program that has a support system for nutrition, for life skills, for emotional intelligences. And what we have active now is the medical, pharmaceutical, therapeutic, and nutrition is going to start on Thursday because we have 2 diabetic survivors, one who has an eating disorder because she also did a bypass surgery. So for us, nutrition is very important. So we're starting with nutrition. And we thank God that people now are a little bit less afraid to socialize with social distance. We're going to conduct these little support groups in our location, in Soroptimist location, so we can actually help them throughout the process.
Sorry, I have a quick question, ladies. Now, with the whole COVID thing coming up, and especially with the lockdowns that we saw in Mahboula, we saw in Jalib, and we saw in other areas, and this is going more towards... Still Farwaniya. This is going towards the expat females that suffered abuse at their hands of their husbands or family members. How has that been? I mean, how much of an impact were you guys able to have when people are stuck in a confined quarters during these times?
Half our survivors are expats.
Let me tell you something, Haider. When the survivors or the victims come to us, once they do the assessment, the psychological and the legal, we give them options. Do they want to leave their home now? If they leave their home, are they interested in getting divorced? Or do they have a family member they can go to? Are they going to legally sue? All of these things. And during the COVID, many, including expatriates, said, no, not at this point. Yeah. So we say, is there anything we can help you with? All what they wanted during this time is to have someone who knows about their issue. If they need therapy, we give it to them since everything is virtual now. So we give them therapy online. And also they know that now they have someone they can count on when and if things get really bad. Now, all of them, we tell them, if it is life-threatening, we will extract you. And we know how to extract
Have there been, what about now, like say Farwaniya or one of the closed off areas, have you had any extractions in these locked up areas? No, not during the lockdown.
No.
Okay. I was just curious if you guys had any of that.
Yeah. We have a link to a couple of organizations who are able to, who can help us to go to these, if there is a need, to go to them and to help them out or to get them out as well.
So we have to also differentiate, Mahdi. We are very limited in resources.
Yeah.
Okay. We are a non-profit entity. We are civil society, and we have no support from the government yet. We have been struggling because the government is struggling because they don't have a law to protect themselves either. So without the advocacy process that actually Abolish have started, okay, and now we're going as a group in the same path. So we can pass the domestic violence law and we can pass the women's abuse law. If this didn't pass, we can't protect them. We can always enable them. We can help them, but we cannot protect ourselves or others. Like anytime a family comes in and they want, and thank God for having a legal professional with us, Adra, she's a lawyer. And what happens is that they contact her first. As a legal professional, she protects herself. Because she's above 21, she's like, okay, my client is above 21. I protect myself as a therapist. So that's why we're the faces now in dealing with this situation, because confidentiality agreement between therapist and client cannot be violated. In the front of the law, if she's not harmed to herself or others, I cannot speak about anything of her situation. And with the legal representation we have, we protect ourselves through that legal representation. The fact that they're adults, responsible for their own decisions. And before they come to us, they actually have to go to the police station and report the abuse.
There are cases where the police station actually themselves called us up, us to take the victims in. So this didn't happen before COVID. Now you see that the police come to us and ask us to take these victims in. So they see, for instance, they would find a car parked somewhere, like in Sultan, outside, and they've seen it for a few days, and it would be a woman and a kid, and they've been living in the car. So they would ask about what happened, and she would say she's a runaway from an abuse, and they would call Adra, our lawyer, and say, can you take her in? So this has never happened before. So we're happy that there is now more understanding, even by the police, to our role. We need is the government, the Ministry of Social Affairs, to help us out during the next 6 months to 1 year, to allow us to expand and provide support to many more who today we can't due to our limited resources. And I'm not just talking about under 21.
Of course.
Yeah. So now what is the difficulty about having the government support this? Because this is such a social service that you are providing for citizens and non-citizens.
The law, Juliet. The law that has been there pending for 5 years.
I know, but does the law really says that when someone is abused, you cannot remove her from the house if she's not married? Why?
Well, there's lots of things. Like, I'll tell you something. It's not about removing her. It's about prosecuting him or her, the violator. Because
even if she doesn't press charges, because I know.
Okay, I'll tell you something very simple. Let's put it in a nutshell. Let's say there's the ex of women who are being abused. They go and report the abuse from the father, the mother, the brother, it doesn't matter. So when they report the abuse, let's say if the person is minor, he's going to take a slap on the face and then go back home.
Okay.
And then if the person is a mature above 21, like the father or the mother, guess what happens? If she doesn't go through the whole thing, paying also the lawyer at least 4,000, 5,000 KD, this is a case, okay? For her to have even people that can actually witness what happened, they're going to get out. Easy as that.
So if I am 21 and I've been abused by my husband, let's say, right? I call the police and I go and I report him for abusing me.
Yeah.
So now in the US, normally if I go or I call the police,
you go to a safe home.
They remove him.
Yeah.
And the police automatically sets a court date mandated for me to press charge, because that's a charge right now. They go and
now that's what we need here.
Yeah,
so
they put him in jail for 48 hours and then they've given me a court date. I go to court and then I can atnazel, how do you say atnazel بالإنجليزي? Or I can say, no, I'm going to continue pressing charge during that court date.
Where
Okay,
is
that
he
is
during
available.
this time, though? Where is he during this time? Where is the perpetrator?
He's out. His perpetrator has to be out of the house until I go to court.
Yes, we need that.
We don't have
we
that.
need that law. We need the law that tells me that the violator or the perpetrator can get out of the house by law, that he does not belong in this context. We don't have that.
That's why we give them the safe houses, because until the courts convene and until the whole process goes on, she is back with him at home with the perpetrator. So we give them the safe house so that they're away from it till all of this is sorted out.
Now, are the safe houses the same thing as in the States? Are they anonymous, no address, no one knows?
Yes, ours,
because here,
ours are.
Every information gets leaked.
Ours are. We change their cell phones. We don't put any kind of location services on their phones, on their devices. You could not imagine where they live. Okay. We do not put them in places where they can be easily spotted. Okay. After we did the forms and the clinical intake process and the legal intake process, they actually sign that they cannot talk about their locations. They have a 2-month contract with us, and it's renewed according to assessment.
I have a quick question with the law itself.
Yes.
Now, over the years, I work with a lot of different people, and I've seen a lot of different things, especially here in Kuwait. And I know a lot of it can be linked to religious ties. And how have the religious fundamentalists, so to speak, have they turned a little bit towards leaning towards this law and applying these laws within the home? I mean, I heard something ridiculous about 6 or 7 months ago before COVID, where a man is able to hit his wife within arm's length. And I just laughed. I was like, so you're telling me this is a fatwa and this is someone actually saying you can do this? When in reality, it makes no sense to someone like myself. So how is that side of the government moving towards these laws?
Okay, we're going to be completely honest here, right?
Are they more open-minded? I don't talk politics or religion on the show, just so everybody knows. This is a first for me.
Really?
Yeah, we never talk.
This is politics and religion.
We never talk politics or religion. This is definitely a first for me.
They are the problem, and I'm going to be Sundus Hussain today because, Sundus is the one who always have a blunt process of honesty. And today I'm going to learn from her. And today I'm going to walk in her shoes and tell you they are the problem. They are the problem. Politics and religion is the problem when you combine them with human rights. So let me speak as a civil society activist and as a president of a society that is working on international level. It's the same everywhere. It's not only here in Kuwait. We have more than 80,000 members around the world, and all of them are working in the same project. Why? It's because it exists everywhere, not only in Kuwait. So religion is a problem. Politics is a problem. Lack of education is an issue. Top that, economic value of a family. Yeah. When you are economically enhanced as a woman, you have your money in your pocket. What do you do when you're bothered? You just leave.
Yeah.
You can leave the whole country if you want. When you are educationally empowered, you can work anywhere in the world, right?
100%. Yeah.
So the girls that we are taking in and we are hosting, and I say hosting because it is hosting, because we don't have a 100% protection program for them. These girls are economically disabled.
Yeah. Yep.
That's why they are in this position. And I always tell all my clients and all my friends and everybody, when they tell me, what is the solution? I was like, money talks. Unfortunately.
It's true.
Yeah,
but that's
very true.
The truth. Now, that's the truth. The more enabled you are as a woman, the safer you are.
It's true, because the more you can give her a degree and empower her. Now, I have a question. So I am the wife. I am living in this warehouse and the halfway house. So can my husband, who you just took, I said, I don't want to live with him. Can he really sue you guys or sue?
No,
he can't. Okay.
Before we take her out, we make her go with us to the police station and she raises a case against him.
And if there's a case, then he cannot sue.
He cannot sue you.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and answering you, Mehdi, even though recently the one who's helping us is an Islamist and who is trying to help us pass this law, even though I think sometimes it's because of the elections coming up and he wants the women on his side.
We don't care.
Yeah, we don't care.
It doesn't matter. It should just get passed.
It doesn't matter. I think Kuwait, as traditionally men in Kuwait, as well as Islamists and nomadic society, think that we are encouraging women. We would encourage women by giving them choices to leave their homes if and when there is a dispute between let's say the husband and the wife, or the father and the woman, in whatever way. So we have a case, a girl who studies in Scotland, and she's smart, and unfortunately her dad didn't like the fact that her colleagues are men, and she speaks to them on the phone, not boyfriends. We're not talking boyfriends here. And anyway, he brought her back and he stopped her scholarship. And the only thing he did is he stopped her scholarship. And when she insisted to go back, he hit her. And that's how she came to us. And then her brother threatened to hit her and kill her as well. So it could be a dispute in also values, in the way they see how a conservative society versus an open-minded society. We keep on saying we do not encourage women to leave their homes because we are not providing them with 5-star hotel service. We are not taking care of them for the rest of their life. So it's the same as, I don't want to get into LGBT, but it's the same thing. You don't have a choice. You only leave because your life sucks. And your life sucks and threatened, we take you. But the other side is not amazing either. She has to go to court. She has to depend on people's money because we have to raise funds for her. She has to live according to a budget. She has to have roommates if she's not married and if she doesn't have kids. It's not the grass on the other side is greener. Not at all. Okay. So now, and this Islamist, specifically this one, because the ones who have helped us all along were all liberals. These Islamists have seen it and have seen the cases, have talked to us. We've given him enough information for him to push for a gender-based violence law to be the protection, of course, to be passed the same way that they passed a law for children abuse.
Wow.
90% my answers to you is yes, and it's all over the Middle East. It's not just in Kuwait. They don't like women, but that didn't stop other countries like Saudi Arabia from having 15 shelters. So why not?
They now have 70 call centers. 70-something call centers. Yeah.
Amazing. And how many call centers do we have?
Zero. Just us.
And what about the housing? How many do we have here? I mean, how many women can you house? None.
I mean, us or
it
them?
Depends.
You guys.
But the shelters, there are no shelters.
Yes, we don't have any shelters.
But we
don't have a quota.
No, but you have it's not a halfway house. It's a place where
it's not a halfway house.
It's not even a place.
Whenever we have cases, we go and find a place for her and her family. It depends on her case. And
it's not a designated place.
No, and that's what we want. We want as a designated place. So we keep them under one place, supervised by social workers. And then people like Sheikha, like Ammar, like myself can go and visit and have a program. People in Soroptimist can give them support and rehabilitation. People from Loyak can come and give them hands-on training and stuff. So, but you can't do this when your victims are all over it, right?
That's true.
Not only that, they're also in buildings that we wouldn't want our kids to live in. Because we have a problem that in Kuwait society, and it's urfa, it's not a law. It's just because they said so. You, as a single woman, cannot rent a house.
That's true.
Yeah.
I heard that.
Okay.
It's not a law, huh?
Not a law.
It's not a law. And you can go to a hotel.
Or go to
a hotel, true. But it's not a law. Wow. Because I get cases where I say, like, for example, she got divorced, woman abused her husband. Okay, her family allowed her to get divorced. And then, but she lives in a house where now they're even worse. You know how it is? Some families here, they're so traditional. They are more strict with divorced women than they are with the woman before she gets married. Then she's unhappy. She's got 3 kids. And I say to her, why don't you she has her own money. She can support herself and she's not allowed to get a house. And one of the things she said is because they will not rent me a place because...
No. That's that is incorrect. As a divorced woman, you can.
But as a single woman, you can.
As a single woman, unwed, you cannot.
But it's not a law.
And where does that come from?
Someone just creates it.
Where does that come from? That comes from... لا مو بس العرف. نرجع what Mahdi said, the religious law, the wasi. Okay? Yeah. So بدون الوصي وولي الأمر, you cannot get married. في المذهب السني, for example, as Sunni, like as Shia, a woman, when she's above 21 and she goes and she has a case that she wants to marry a guy, she marries the person herself. But for example, in the Sunnis, the father needs to be approving, or the uncle or the wasi, okay, who is the supervisor, right? So where does all of these araf, I don't know how to say it in English, come from? It comes from all these laws that are giving our society the bipolar identity. Are you applying liberal constitution or are you applying Sharia? You need to choose. That
are you based on a civic laws as the constitution dictated, exactly. Or are you going with Sharia?
Because if you go ahead.
Ladies, I have a quick question before we run out of time. And this is a hot topic right now. And I gotta get Sundus's input on this. What is your take on the new campaign that's going around of the giving the nationality to children of Kuwaiti women and the petition that's been going around? What's your take on that? Because I think this is all related into women's rights and women's equality within our society, not only in Kuwait, but in the Middle Eastern region, to be honest with you.
I mean, if it becomes true, this is amazing because the constitution is very clear about حقوقنا واجباتنا. Yani we are all equal in the face of the law, and the constitution has clearly stated it. It's
the penal Kuwaiti doesn't say male or female.
Or female. And the laws or the penal codes are the one who are in contradiction to our constitution, and people think this is the norm. It's the same way as many things. Like Amar was saying, you cannot trend. It's not the law. If we know our rights, we would not be in such a deep trouble. I think this is way over. It's way too late, but it's still something that if it does happen, is going to be amazing. And again, male society is always about your husband have the right to Kuwait's money. Why does your kids have to have the right to Kuwait's money? And so on and so forth. It's again all about the mentality of the guardianship. The man is the guardian, therefore he's supposed to be the Kuwaiti one and not,
So let me tell you an example of what I said about that yesterday, because we had this discussion in our own family. I said, I don't mind not giving the nationality to the kids or the husband if the Kuwaiti man also does not give the nationality to his wife. Because how come as a person, when I get married to a non-Kuwaiti, okay, and we're not even asking for that non-Kuwaiti to have the jinsiyah, okay? I am saying that my kids, at least my kids should have the privilege that I have because I'm Kuwaiti. And to be honest, I don't care about the jinsiyah factor. I care about rights. Yeah. And if you give us a law where my kids are protected and are always provided with an opportunity to stay because they are home, because they are in their mother's home, because they are home, I don't need the jinsiyah. But when you are telling me that the kids over 18 need an iqamah,
have to leave.
Okay? And have to leave, okay? They don't have the right to go into the educational system because they come second, not first, right? Because they have...
Besides that, they don't, from what I understand, is they don't have a right to inheritance either. Like if the mother were to pass away, they would have to sell. It's disgusting. True. And if a mother were to pass away, the kids can't get their iqamas renewed.
We'll have zero...
I couldn't believe that. I could not...
I mean, why?
That's even violation of Sharia. This is violation of Sharia law.
It's not understandable because we women have equally given back to Kuwait society as men have done.
100%.
So why is this? We've never ever even discussed the fact that we're doing it because we want jinsiyah for our kids or whatever it is. We're just been equal partner in the development of Kuwait and making it a better place for our kids and for the society. So why? Why are you taking this from us? Because you don't want us to marry غريب واحد من بر يعني من مو كويتي. Really?
That's probably one of the reasons. That's probably one of the reasons is to
I will tell you an
Kuwaitis
example.
to marry Kuwaitis. Right?
Yeah, I will tell you an example. As a scholar, أنا بنت الحكومة. I've been in government systems all my life, okay? And then when I got my scholarship, this is the first question they asked me. Are you married? They didn't ask the men if they're married or not. They asked me. That's number one. Number two, and then they asked me, and they told me in specific, in my face, that when you travel, you cannot marry a non-Kuwaiti. And if you marry a non-Kuwaiti, the scholarship will be...
Wait, no way.
Discontinued.
Seriously?
Wait, discontinued?
No.
To God.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Wow.
But they don't ask the guy. They don't say you're not going to be married.
No. They told that to the men, but they specifically say it verbally to the women. They leave us all in the situation where, why can I not choose my partner of life? Okay. Despite the fact of his nationality, why cannot I, as a woman in Kuwait,
it is unbelievable,
give my children my own heritage, my own money, my own everything? Equality is a right of humanity. And if this law passes, I think we're going to be in a better place in Kuwait.
It would be amazing for it to pass. I have family members. I have my aunt. She's married to a non-Kuwaiti. I have cousins who are, more Kuwaiti than me, to be honest with you. I'll be 100% honest. They're more Kuwaiti than me. They lived there longer. They lived here longer than me. And I'm just like, this is just wrong on so many different levels, in my opinion, that a mother can't give her God-given birthright to her children. And it's just, I hope this passes. And I mean, some people say petitions they don't really do much. But I think if enough people scream.
And advocacy does. Look at what happened 2-3 days ago. Now they are applying the law of having women to have the right to sign for themselves and their loved ones. Co-sign. That's
co-sign for what? For what?
For the medical.
Oh, that's what I understand. I can't believe that when you go to give medical services for your kid now, that
you cannot
the spouse. So even if you are divorced, unless you've got a paper, even though the court gave you the guardianship, unless you've got something documented,
again, the wasi
he has to take you.
The Sharia law of the wasi, ahwal al-shakhsiyya.
So these ladies, the ladies that we're helping, some of them, because of the divorce issues and the man being hard-headed, he would not take his kids to dentists. He would not allow her to take. And through Ammar's connection in the hospitals, in the government hospitals, we've been able to treat their kids, treat them in the dentistry,
legally,
all of the things.
And legally.
Wow.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I was very surprised. I was surprised that and then I thought, well, maybe this is the government hospitals. But then I understand it's not.
Everywhere.
Oh, no. I'm sorry to tell you that it's also on my body. If I'm unwed, and I go to a government hospital and I ask for an OBGYN or a gynecologist, what is going to happen? They're going to tell me, well, if you're not married, you can't take a test.
Yeah, because you don't need it until you're married.
Exactly. Why? It doesn't make any sense.
So that means if you've never married and you're in your 45 and you know that we have ovarian cancer, we have a lot of issues that can start with a woman even when she's not.
I look at it from the abuse situation. I don't look at it from you and me and the normal women who can actually go and pay for a doctor. Juliet. Right. I look at it from my own, I call them my girls, these women that have been surviving all of this. We need to have a checkup. And because they are unwed, they cannot take their rights, their medical rights because of the social status. What does that give you? That means you don't care about the health of these women.
Of course, and you're not caring.
And if you as a person or as a medical entity, you are putting social status and jinsiyya and all of that in front of you, then you don't deserve that. You don't deserve to be here because as a medical personnel, you shouldn't see any of that. You see the body of the person and the soul of the person and you help them, even if they are your enemy. So
you know why it's important to pass the law now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Our girls are not the enemy.
How far are we from this law being passed?
Wait until the parliament reconvenes now and let's see who are in the parliament.
So are they reconvening
I mean, when I don't mean reconvene, when the elections happen in November. Yeah, and then we'll see, because nobody's going to touch these issues now. Nobody. Everybody's worried
because they are
about...
controversial. They're controversial.
Yes.
And also the people the people who are taking care of these issues are controversial. I, for example, as a Soroptimist president, I'm trying to negotiate with the government. So as an NGO, we can actually help officially the government to give us our rights as civil society in that specific process. Because lots of people went through that process. Ithar went through it, Abolish went through it. And now we are forming a team with a legal right to ask for more. And I'm optimistic because I don't care how many doors I'm going to knock. I'm going to knock until they're tired.
Can we get the MP, Safa, to be able to help us because she's a woman, or do women also, and we're not talking politics, I'm just saying.
Can we skip this question? Can I kindly skip this question,
not her
please?
no, I don't mean her and say. I'm just like, I'm saying women in general. Can other women advocate for us?
Okay.
But I have another question. Okay, fine.
Juliet, I keep on saying that we should not choose women to go to the parliament to assume the role of a man.
It's true.
Because if you're going to be leading your life and your agenda and you as a man, then good for you. You're an MP, but you're not standing for the rights of women, and you're not going to stand for the rights of women.
It's going to be difficult. I have another question. It's not political, but I just want to know.
Dr.D stirred up the hornet's nest this time. It wasn't me. I'm
such an American. Like, I think in that way, but maybe it's different. I also I'm thinking of me. Like, if I was like in a higher power, I would try to help, but I'm a psychologist also. So Amar knows we're so empathetic. But what about LGBT? Or, that a couple of months ago, we had that big issue with Maha El-Mtayri and all the abuse. Like, when abuse happens with police officers, do you guys get involved in those? Or, you've heard about, she's a transgender female, the abuse that when she got caught, the abuse by the police, the petition was going on and on. So I know that's a sensitive topic already in Kuwait.
We need another podcast
for that.
Yeah,
okay.
we would definitely need a whole new show.
For that. It's not within our
jurisdiction.
Scope of work, basically, for now. There are...
Do we happen to have gender issues? Yes.
Okay.
Right. Do we have... gender issues come from women, men, or transgenders, or anything else. But this topic needs its own process, and it needs its own focus, because this is out of our focus area for now. But as a psychologist or a therapist, I could talk to you about it, Juliet, and extensively about their
But you know what? Since you opened this subject, some of our victims happen to have, let's call it, what is the right word to say this? Gender identity. And their families don't know how to deal with them. So they hit them. Right. And then eventually they just throw them out in the streets.
That's right.
We don't want to deal with you.
Right. And that's what I have seen, actually.
And we take them in because in Abolish, Soroptimist and Ithar and all of the community services, and humanitarian, we don't get into this. What you select as your method in living or how you want to live your life is not our subject. The point is people or women should not be hit to conform.
Right. And the abuse.
That's it.
Right. So your major point is abuse. So it doesn't matter what your identity is. That you were abused.
The only thing for now that we cannot help is people with psychiatric issues. And I'm saying psychiatric, not psychological, because a lot of people, and these days I'm doing so many interviews about that because people need to differentiate between that. And you know that, Juliet. There are a lot of people with psychological, of course, the women who have been subjected to abuse, who we call survivors, have been subjected to psychological challenges. That's normal. And they might have a psychological diagnosis. But when it comes to the psychiatric diagnosis, we cannot handle because we are not a safe home with a full operational process. We are people in civil society trying to help these women stand on their feet. So we do not have a 100% medical supervision 24/7. So it's impossible for us to take in psychiatric issues and challenges.
You're talking more about psychosis.
I'm talking psychosis,
schizophrenia, bipolar,
mood disorders, personality disorders. And unfortunately, that also needs another podcast
session.
We don't have a rehabilitation center in Kuwait to help us through the process. So when you go to the mental health facility in Kuwait, they will tell you, we don't take personality disorders for now because we don't have space for them. Because they know personality disorders, there are no solution. You need to have interventions for them. They need a lifestyle. They need to be medicated properly. Some of them that don't even need medication. Some of them need intensive therapy and support programs. And that is impossible for us now because we're just 4 women who are trying to facilitate with other women in the society to help. And none of us is full-time. We all have our jobs, our careers. And despite of all of that, we live, I have to say, I live my whole day with this situation. It's part of my life now.
4 women with 4 organizations at the back.
Yeah.
The backing of.
Well, I think you women are doing an amazing job, starting with awareness, changing laws, trying to empower women who have been, I think that's a big job. You're, That's like a 24
And we're
hour
blessed.
job.
And we're blessed that we have organizations that are backing us up.
Thank
And
God.
without the women that we are working with, not necessarily in this eval project, but we have lobbyists, we have educationists, we have other people. Like, for example, now we're thinking about, okay, how are we going to talk to the social media after COVID, telling them, ladies, we exist and we need your help. And we need so much help, Juliet. And I'm taking this opportunity in this podcast to ask for this help. We need all your help. We need you. We need Mehdi. We need all the wonderful people out there to know that everything counts. The service counts. The facilitation counts. The KD counts. Everything.
The advocacy counts. We will have to have rehabilitation programs. We're going to have to be able to use our networks to allow these women to be hired, especially since for the ones who are not Kuwaitis. We need a system that takes the woman from where she is today, which is weakness, abuse, lack of confidence, into the woman that needs to fulfill her destiny.
Yes,
and imagine if we built the system, we already built the system theoretically. We applied half of it and we are in the process of applying. And we're only 4 women in 3 or 4 organizations. Okay? Imagine after COVID, when all these organizations are on top of everything. Now, because we can't force people to go in and actually work with the survivors because of the COVID. We didn't do that. But our women that are with us, they're willing. And we have so many younger women who are calling us, and I'm so proud of them. They called me and they bought shoes for these ladies. They bought Netflix accounts. They bought them games because they're the same age. They're so empathetic. They were like, we know exactly how they feel. And once COVID is over, we want to talk to them. We want to do art with them. We want to help them. And there's so much care outside this bubble. And I'm so thankful and grateful because I'm learning from these people every day. But all we need is the support of the people that matter, which is the government and the lawmakers and the law. I would call them the takers, because these are the people who are against us because they're taking something away from.
Don't vote for anybody who does not put women issues and things like that in the forefront.
Yes,
definitely.
Definitely. I think that's an awareness. And also the Project Kuwait is here to help you guys. So Mehdi,
thank you.
Anytime you guys ever need anything,
podcast, if we can do any
shoot me a message, Sundus, anytime.
Campaign that way, we are here. Definitely.
Thank you.
This is a very...
I hope all of our listeners...
We can't hear you. You're cutting off.
Anytime you guys need anything from me, just shoot me a message.
I really appreciate it.
And I hope all of our listeners that are listening, they advocate for, your organizations and they help also. It's a great cause. It's one worthy that all of us should stand up for and, fight for. It's women's rights in general in Kuwait. And I hope one day there is equality. And I hope actually you guys kick our butts sooner or later in everything.
Yeah. Yes, we all have important women in our lives, be it a man or a female that we're talking about, but we all have mothers, sisters, wives, and we should all protect and help them thrive.
That's true.
And one day, I'm hoping that one day we would have enough resources to even help the boys, to be honest.
Inshallah.
It's not our focus area now, but we have so many people out there that need help. And out of the goodness of everybody's heart, we need to know that violence has no gender.
Maybe you should tell them about the boy who's in the
15 years old. Yeah. We have a 15-year-old guy who is in the mental health, and he is diagnosed with personality disorders. And he has been helped by the government, and now the family doesn't want to take him in.
His family.
And now we're facilitating to the Ministry of Social Affairs to take him in, because they have a law, the Ministry of Social Affairs. They say if there's a family, we can't take him in. Family has the responsibility to take him in. But what if the family doesn't? So I think the next step, if we succeed in building the right team and building the right successors for this opportunity and for this project, there has to be another project for abuse in general, not only women.
Allowing foster to come to reality in Kuwait, because all of these children, especially the ones at the 15 and 14, need to go places where they feel at least protected.
Definitely foster home. I think that would really, really help with a lot of our cases and a lot of our issues. I mean, it's not like it's majorly successful in the US, but we're not as big as the US. And I think foster home would work very well here for us. That would be the first start. And we can train these parents. You know, some parents in the US, I used to work with foster homes all the time and shelters. Some of these parents didn't even have the kids of their own. They fostered kids. Sometimes they adopted them, but they were trained. We put them through a training. I think this is an amazing opportunity to do something good.
That's for sure.
So,
that's for sure.
I hope so. Well, thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. Great.
Thank you guys for having us.
And anytime you need my help, you guys, you need the psychological help. You need.
Yes, we do.
Anything.
Yes, we do, Juliet.
Let me know.
Without, you have to be untanned.
Oh, untanned. I will work on that, Sundus.
Okay.
I will have a better face. See, after this, I will be peeled. I will look good. And
Inshallah.
Then I can represent you properly.
Thanks for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. You can also find us on Instagram at The Project Kuwait. Thank you, and join us next time.